In this video, I will show you how to configure Google Ads conversion tracking with server-side Google Tag Manager. And this tutorial is designed specifically for Shopify stores. There are many nuances, so let's dive in. Before we continue, first let me show you what I already have in my setup, and I hope that you will have something similar in your setup. That way it will be easier for you to follow along. So I have a web container and I have a server container. In the web container, I have a Google Analytics configuration tag, also known as Google tag. Inside this tag, I pretty much just have the server container URL parameter that sends data to my server container. And then this tag does not send a page view because instead I have a separate tag that does this. In this tag, I have a variable. In this tag, I am using the event settings variable, but all it contains right now is just the very same server container URL. By the way, if you have no idea how to achieve what I have already created in this container, then watch another tutorial of mine where I explain how to install server-side tag manager on Shopify. I will post a link to that tutorial below the video. Watch that first, and then after you complete all of those steps, come back to this tutorial. Also, I have a purchase tag. This tag sends the purchase event together with e-commerce data to my server-side Google Tag Manager container. This tag also uses the same GA settings variable. Then I have a server container, which is pretty much empty. It is hosted on Stape. And I installed Google Tag Manager on Shopify by using Stape's plugin. In that plugin, I have selected to insert the WebGTM container. This is my WebGTM container ID. This is my custom domain that I have mapped in Stape. Then I have enabled custom loader, cookie keeper. Also in the data layer tab, they ask you to add a particular tracking code as a custom pixel. And that is managed in settings of the store, customer events. And then if you go to custom pixel, you will need to create that custom pixel right here. So I will not go too much into details right here because all of the steps are explained right here. So to sum up what I have right now, I have two containers. I'm using Stape's plugin to install Google Tag Manager on Shopify, and I followed their recommendation to install this extension. Also, one more thing to mention is that there are some limitations in Shopify where sometimes preview mode does not work. For example, it won't work at the checkout. So I have all of these tags already published in my website Google Tag Manager container. So once you have this, then click submit, publish it, and then we will try to troubleshoot the rest of the setup in a bit different way. I will not be using WebGTM's preview mode. So the first step will be to test whether our server container is receiving the requests. Since web container is already published, I can just go to my website. Also, at the same time, I will need to go to the server Google Tag Manager container, click preview. And once this is enabled, I go to the website, I reload the page, and I should see some requests coming in. And here they are. I have a page view. I don't have any tags in the server container, so no tags fired. But if I click on request right here, I can see the incoming request, what kind of data was received, and then we can continue working with that. So one of the things that should be done in the web Google Tag Manager container, and you should check if you have that, is to make sure that you're sending the correct page URL. At the storefront, the website Google Tag Manager preview mode will work. So let's go to the web container, click preview, then enter the URL of your website and click connect. Once the preview mode is connected, we can then go to the preview mode, and here you will notice that there's a page view Stape event and it sends a thing called the actual URL. At the storefront, Google Analytics can automatically fetch the correct URL right here. But at the checkout, the URLs become more obfuscated. So if you want to also have proper clean URLs at the checkout, then here's what you should do. We should go to the website Google Tag Manager container, go to tags, and then first go to the GA4 config tag. And here in the configuration parameter, we can add a parameter which is called page location, and we will insert a variable that returns the actual URL. We don't have it out of the box, so I will click plus right here, variable configuration, then data layer variable, and I will type actual URL like this. So I just copied it from here and pasted it right here. Then click save. Also, one more thing that I forgot to do here with this particular variable is to give it a fallback value. If actual URL is not available in the data layer, then we should tell Google Tag Manager to continue using the built-in page location variable. So now I will save this tag and I will edit the variable. Let's go to variables, then DLV actual URL. Then here set the default value, and here you should insert the page location variable. If you don't see it, then go to built-ins and then select page URL like this, and then click save. We have inserted this variable in the Google tag. Now let's do the same thing in both of these tags. But luckily, I am using a thing called event settings variable. That's why I can just click right here and then add a parameter, which is page location, and I will insert that actual URL variable. And by editing this single place, I'm actually affecting multiple event tags because all of them are using this particular variable. Now let's go to the server Google Tag Manager container. Even though we are focusing right now on Google Ads, technically we could also create a Google Analytics tag that will send data further to our property. It takes just like several clicks. So in tags, click new, tag configuration, select Google Analytics, GA4, then keep all of these settings as they are, and then click triggering. We want this tag to fire on all incoming GA4 requests. And that can be done by creating a custom trigger where in the trigger configuration, the type is custom and we have to select some events. Here, select client name. If you don't see client name, then go to choose built-in variable and select client name there. Then equals and uppercase GA4 like this. Let's call this client GA4 and save. Then let's call this GA4 as well and save. Now let's proceed with the tags that actually are related to Google Ads. The first tag is conversion linker. It is responsible for setting a cookie that contains the Google Click ID. In the tags, click new, tag configuration, conversion linker, and then in the triggering, you can select the same GA4 client trigger, which means that on every incoming GA4 request, this tag will fire. And if Google Click ID is in the URL, then this tag will set a particular cookie in the visitor's browser. We can, in fact, test this. Now let's name this conversion linker and click save. Let's verify if this is working properly. So let's click preview in the server container. Then I will go to the website. Maybe I should close the preview mode. And then I will go to preview in the web container and I will type GCL ID and then some random value like this. Click connect. Once the preview mode is connected, here you will see a page view request. Click on it and you will see that conversion linker fired. Now, while I have selected page view, I can click request, then incoming request. And this is the request that we got from our website. But our server responded back to the browser that a new cookie should be set for the visitors. So this is the cookie name and this is the cookie value. And as you can see, here is our Google Click ID. So this is the primary goal of conversion linker and it was achieved successfully. Now let's go to Google Ads and create a purchase conversion because I want to fire a conversion tag when the purchase happens.
By the way, I release Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager tutorials every week. If you want consistent flow of fresh knowledge and to stay up to date, then subscribe to this channel. It will help us a lot.
All right, here I am in the Google Ads and let's go to goals, conversions, summary, then scroll down and click create conversion action. Here we have to select a conversion category. I'm going to track purchase, then click create conversion, select your website data source, then manually with code, and you can review the conversion settings. So I will keep this as primary. Then I will be using different values for each conversion. I will count each conversion. Then all the other settings also look fine. And in enhanced conversions, you can click here and make sure that this is also enabled. Now let's click done and click save and continue. Then switch to use Google Tag Manager. And here we will have two values, conversion ID and conversion label. We will need to use them in Google Tag Manager. So let's go to the server Google Tag Manager, then go to tags, click new, tag configuration, Google Ads conversion tracking, and then paste the ID and label right here. So let's start with the ID. then copy the label here and then paste it right here. And then the triggering. Now the question is, what kind of trigger should we use? In this case, we can check the preview mode. I haven't completed the purchase, but I can do that now. Before we do this, make sure that you have published your web Google Tag Manager container, because as I've said, at the checkout preview mode won't work. Then close your preview mode. And then let's go to the website. I will click on a product. And in the meantime, let's check if we get the events. Yeah, I get the page views. Then I'll click buy it now and go directly to the checkout. Then I'll submit the form. Click pay now. And let's go to the server container preview mode. And here I have purchase. So this event will be our trigger. Let's go to the server container. And while I'm editing the Google Ads conversion tag, let's go to triggering and let's create a new trigger. So click plus right here, then trigger configuration. And we want to create a trigger where the event name is purchase and client name is GA4. So let's select custom, some events, and then event name equals purchase. If you don't see the event name in the list, then select it from the built-in variables list. And let's add the second condition where client name equals GA4 uppercase. Then let's call this GA4 purchase and click save. Now let's name this tag and click save. Also, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that we can send additional user information together with the conversion, such as email, first name, and so on. And I should have configured that in my web Google Tag Manager container. So just as an example, I will show you how to send email address, but you could repeat the same process and send more user information. While I am at the thank you page of the purchase, I can actually check what kind of user information is available. To do that, you will need to open the developer tools. So I will go to more tools, developer tools. Then in the console where you see top, you should switch to WebPixel, Sandbox, Custom, and then some number right here. We're doing this because Google Tag Manager is kind of isolated at the checkout of Shopify. It's in its own sandbox environment. So when you select that environment, you should type data layer with the uppercase L, and then you will see purchase Stape event. If you expand it, you will see user data, and you have a bunch of parameters right here, such as city, country, email, and so on. So let me access that email right here. We could do that by using the data layer variable userdata.email. Let's go to the website Google Tag Manager container and create a variable. In the variables section, click new, variable configuration, then data layer variable, and enter userdata.email. Because email is inside the user data. Let's name this variable and click save. Then we will need to create another variable that sort of stores all the user data that we provide to Google Analytics and later to Google Ads. So let's click new, variable configuration, and then user provided data. Here, keep the manual configuration, and in the email field, select that data layer variable. If you decided to create more variables like first name, last name, then you will need to select them right here as well. Then let's name this variable. Let's call this user provided data and click save. Then finally, let's go to tags, then open the purchase tag. And here in the event parameters section, click add parameter and type user data exactly like this, all lowercase. And here let's insert that user provided data variable. Click save. From now on, when this event is sent to our server-side Google Tag Manager container, Google Ads will be able to automatically pick that information and send further to Google Ads. But as always with Shopify checkout, we have to submit this right away. So click submit and then click publish. It's also a good practice to give this version a name. For example, user provided data in GA4 and click continue. Then let's close this, go to workspace, and let's test the purchase again, but this time with our Google Ads purchase tag. So first I will refresh the preview mode in the server container, and then I will make a new purchase. I will also close the console. So click continue shopping and I'll start again. Here's the product. Then I click buy it now. Also, let's keep an eye on the server preview mode, so I see some events. Technically, if you tracked also other events like view item, begin checkout, all that stuff, then you would see more events right here. But I don't want to overwhelm you too much. That's why we're focusing mainly on page views and purchases in this tutorial. Then I will submit the form again. Click Pay Now. And then in the preview mode, I should see the purchase. I click here. I see that my Google Ads purchase tag fired. But here's the catch. If I click it, you will see that there is no outgoing request from the server. We have some requests sent back to the browser, but not from the server. The reason why this happens is that Google Ads conversion tag sends the request from your server to Google only if Google Click ID is available and this tag can access that information. Even though we have conversion linker tag and it has set the cookie, Google Ads conversion tag cannot access that cookie because the checkout at Shopify is quite limited. So we need to solve this problem. But first, let me explain why this tag cannot access the click ID. Here I have two Google Tag Manager containers, the website and the server side. The website container is installed on Shopify, and when it comes to Shopify website tracking and its structure, we basically should think about two components, the storefront and the checkout. When the analytics requests are sent from the storefront to the server-side Google Tag Manager, those requests also automatically contain the cookie information. So this also includes that cookie which was set by conversion linker. That cookie contains the Google Click ID. When the request contains the cookie information, then Google Ads conversion tag can access that information and fire. So if, for example, you decide to track add to cart as a conversion, then Google Ads tag will be able to access this information. However, if analytics requests are sent from the checkout, those requests do not contain the cookie information. Even though the visitor's browser contains the cookie with the click ID, that cookie's information is not passed to the server GTM. Therefore, Google Ads cannot access that information. And this is very important for proper attribution. So, what can be done? Well, luckily, our website Google Tag Manager and the tags inside of it, they can access the cookies. And this applies both to tags inside the storefront and also to those tags that fire on the checkout. So our workaround would be to manually add the cookie value to the requests that are sent to the server. For example, we could add a parameter called custom FPG claw, which equals to the actual cookie value. And then we will need to configure the server-side Google Tag Manager container to read this particular value. And then Google Ads tag will take it, will use it, and then will send the conversion data to Google. So let's see how can we do this. By the way, did you know that I have a bunch of free ebooks on Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics? So if you want to better learn these topics, then click the link below the video, download those ebooks, and get started. First of all, we need to go to the website Google Tag Manager container and read the FPG claw cookie value. If I go to the website, for example, here to the homepage, I open Developer Tools and then go to Application, Cookies, select my domain, and then type FPG. Here is the cookie set by the conversion linker, and this is my click ID. So what we are going to do is that first we will read this and then we will send this to our server. Let's go to the website container, then variables, then user-defined variables, click new, variable configuration, first party cookie, and here we have to enter the name of the cookie, which is this one right here. So copy and paste it. And let's call this cookie and like this, click save. Then we have to include this parameter in our event tags. So let's go to tags, then select, let's say, page view or purchase. I'll start with the page view because both of those tags use the same GA settings variable. Therefore, I can just update this variable and all of the event tags will inherit this. So I'll click the icon right here and then I will edit it to add an additional parameter. Let's call it custom FPG claw. And then let's insert that cookie variable. Click save. And let's test if this is working. So click preview. Then I can even delete this because the cookie is already present. So click connect. Once the preview mode is connected, I can go to the preview mode. Then let's say click any event right here, go to variables. And I see that my cookie value is right here. Then I can go to the server container, click the recent page view, then request, click on the incoming request. And here I will see that the parameter is also included right here. Now let's go to the server container. When I click the most recent page view, and if I go to the event data, I will see that parameter right here. So I will create a variable that reads this value. Let's go to the server container, then variables, then in user-defined variables, click new, variable configuration, and then select event data. That's because right now we're looking at event data right here. So here I will need to copy the parameter value and paste it right here. Then let's call this ed, event data, and then save this variable. The next thing that we have to do is to extract the click ID, because this is what we have to send to Google, not the entire value right here. Right now, there is no built-in solution in Google Tag Manager to do this, so we will need to use a custom template. Below this video, you will find a link to a GitHub repository where you will find a fairly simple variable. I borrowed that template from Stape. So once you go to that link, click on the template, then 3 dots, then download, then go to the server Google Tag Manager containers, templates. In the variable templates, click new, then 3 dots, import, and then select that template right here. Open. The template name is GCLID from FPG Claw, and then click save. Once the template is created, you can close this and go to variables to create a variable, because now we have imported the template. In user-defined variables, click new, variable configuration, select the template, and here insert that event data variable that reads the cookie value. And then let's name this GCLID extracted from FPG Claw or something like that. Then click save. The next step is to modify the page URL, which would be accessible for the Google Ads conversion tag. Because right now, if I go to page location, it will contain this or something like that, but there is no Google Click ID anywhere in the URL. However, we can fix this with a particular variable template. So let's go to the server container, click templates, then in the variable templates section, click search gallery, and then type URL builder and use the template created by Stape. Then click add to workspace and add. And then let's go to variables. And then in user-defined variables, click new, variable configuration, select URL builder. And here we have to enter the input URL. So that's the page location. And we will also include a Google Click ID parameter, of which value will be our recently created variable that extracts the GCL ID. So here in the value, click the button, and then click this variable right here. For the input URL, we should create another variable that accesses the page location. So here, click the button, then click plus, variable configuration, and then event data. Here, enter page underscore location, because that's what we have in the event data. And then let's call this variable like this, and then click save. Then let's call this variable URL page location with Google Click ID and click save. Even though this variable right now will return the page location with Google Click ID, we have to tell Google Ads tag to start using that. And this can be done with a feature called transformations. So in transformations, click new, transformation configuration, and then select augment event. This particular transformation allows us to modify the data which is available in event data object right here. So basically we will tell that we want to overwrite the page location field and we want to give it a new value which is available right here. But we have to keep one thing in mind. Not all visitors will have Google Click IDs. So we want this particular transformation to be activated only if the value of that Google Click ID cookie actually exists. In other words, we need to add a matching condition. So click conditionally apply, and then we want this to work only if there is a custom FPG Claw parameter in the event data. So this transformation should work if FPG Claw is not empty, or in other words, is not undefined. That's why we will select does not equal undefined. And we want this transformation to be applied only to Google Ads conversion tags, not all tags in our container. That's why we will click Affected Tags, Some, Include Tag Types, and then Google Ads Conversion Tracking. So all Google Ads Conversion Tracking tags in our server container will get the modified URL with Google Click ID if Google Click ID exists in a cookie. Now let's save this transformation and click Save. Now let's test if all of this is working, because I understand this is quite a lot. First, let's refresh the server container preview mode. So click the preview button. Then I'll just need to make sure that everything is published in the web container, because again, at the checkout, the preview mode will not work. So click Submit. Then you can give this version a name, but I'll just skip it for now. Then I will close the website preview mode. And then let's just browse the website. So I will go to the product page. I should already see some page view. Here it is. Although no, one thing that I realized that maybe I should try entering a different Google Click ID just for sake of demonstration. So GCL ID, and let's call this 99999, something like that. So in the preview mode of the server container, I have the page view. Here is the incoming request. And together with that request, the server responded that this cookie should be created, and it's our latest Google Click ID. Then I will go to the product page, buy it now, then submit the form, click Pay Now. The purchase was completed. Now if I go to the server container preview mode and click on Purchase and then go to Tags, I will see that my Google Ads tag fired, but this time we have the request going to the Google servers. So if I click here, I will see that there's a parameter called gclaw, and it contains our click ID. So everything is working properly. Now the last step for you would be to publish your changes in the server Google Tag Manager container, and that's it. You're now ready and you have configured the conversion tracking for your Shopify store. And that's how you can track Google Ads conversions with server-side tagging on a Shopify store. If you found this video useful, hit the like button. That will help me understand what videos do you like and what should I create in the future. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics, then subscribe to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.